Good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Mukesh Pareek, and I'm live with the next lecture. Kindly show your presence so that we can start the class. Kindly show your presence so that we can start the class. Yes, I can see some of you now. Good morning, everybody. Now let us begin. In yesterday's class, we were talking about Reformation, actually the Protestant movement, and how translation of Bible brought about certain ideas, uh, and we talked about, I think, different names, particularly 10 different Bibles, and I also told you that they have asked us so many questions on this different Bibles. Now, that is another part of Renaissance. As you all know, that we began with Anglo-Saxon, or say Old English, then we moved towards the Middle English, and in 2-3 lectures, we kept dwindling between the two ages. Then we talked about. I have altogether not touched Chaucer. So the students who have taken admission recently, and those who are watching me right now, I'll send them the recorded videos of Chaucer and Canterbury Tales and prologue to the Canterbury Tales, where I read the important lines from the Canterbury Tales. Okay, so those students who have taken admission will be benefited, and those who are new and watching me, I implore them to take admission as soon as possible, before August starts, so that you don't miss the important parts of this lecture series. Directly come to my website mukeshpareek.com, or say englishcosmos.org, and come to my blog, because we'll be reading from there today. Meanwhile, you come there and respond me. Let me talk about the growth of sonnet. Though I already have delivered a lecture on the growth of sonnet, how it was brought to England, what is the contribution of Wyatt and Surrey, and the other writers in those ages. So overall, this Renaissance, as we have already been studying Renaissance for last many days now, there has been a great impact of not only the lyrical poetry, but for the sake of ideas. Because as you all know that somebody can give you only a form, but your ideas, your material, that belongs to your own age, your own circumstances. So the political upheaval, the political upheaval, and the growth of drama, the increasing population, the starting of printing press, which gave or increased the number of reading people into England. As we already have been talking about, that Renaissance as such means the rebirth of knowledge. Okay. So on one hand, when we talk about Renaissance and the literature of Renaissance, so in our post-graduation and graduation particularly, our curricula in different universities of India, they just teach us certain dramas of Shakespeare or say Marlowe, but mostly they forget to teach us the growth, and that is why I think that history of English literature is considered to be very, very important when we come to the point of qualifying this exam, NAT and JRF. Okay. uh, I don't encourage that you talk in between, watching, otherwise you may go. Kindly don't talk when you are watching my lecture. Okay, otherwise I'll be disturbed, because whatever you write, it comes on the screen. Clear? uh, have you come to the blog? Have you come to the blog? Those who are first time watching me, kindly use your phone with the split screen. and go to my website. You will find my website's name is www.mukeshpareek.com. So we can convert the same class into a very good class where you can read and simultaneously can see me also. Go to my blog and just see what I have uploaded there on today's lecture. When you will write the name, I will start teaching. Lecture on 29th of July. Go to my website. I'm asking everybody to go to my website. Open that website. You will find a blog towards the right hand side. Click that blog and you will come to something which I have already uploaded. Otherwise, we will be only reading our text. We will be just only talking. You will be gawking at me, listening to me only, and we won't be taking a full benefit of the lecture. So, and I expect that only serious students are watching me. Yeah. What is our life by Sir Walter Raleigh? In coming 2 or 3 classes, I will be teaching you the dedicatory letter of Spenser when he wrote Fairy Queen. I'll be teaching you the dedicatory letter because this dedicatory letter is written in archaic English, and from there we have got more than 5 to 7 questions from the same letter. So I have planned that I'll be teaching you. So if you allow me, should I upload it today on my blog and tomorrow we will read it? And I ask you to read it beforehand, before you come to my class. Just read it once, you read, and then you come to me so that we can discuss and we can skip and then read. Okay? You're not responding that have you come to the blog, what you can see there. There are so many students watching me right now, and start sharing this video, please. I yesterday also did the request that share it, and only 7 students shared it. So I don't know why you are so shy of. If you're watching me, if you're taking benefit, then why are you not sharing it? You should share it. There is a concept of sharing, on Facebook. Yeah. Kindly respond that you have come to my blog through my website mukeshpareek.com so that we can start the class. Okay. Today's lecture has been divided into 4 or 5 sections. When you go to my blog, you will find that I have numbered them. So the first number goes to this a small poem which is very, very important. And what is our life? This is a philosophical poem. And as you all know that Walter Raleigh was imprisoned. And when he was imprisoned, from the prison he wrote this poem. What is our life? A play of passion. So the language is easy. I'll not consume much of your time in explaining the poem because it is very simple. What is our life? A play of passion. As you all know that the whole life is if we count it, we find that different passions, whether they are passions of mirth means happiness, or melancholy, sadness. Our mirth, the music of division. Our mirth, the music of division. That when we are happy, mirth means happy, writer says, music of division. Then we divide and we don't understand that what is going on in our life. Our mother's wombs the tiring houses be. He says that when we are born, our mother's wombs the tiring houses be, and we come out of the houses. The metaphor has been used. The metaphor of a house is used here for the wombs of mothers, where we are dressed for this short comedy. Now, this line was asked in the exam, that who has called life a comedy? So the writer says, because as you all know, Walter Raleigh is using a surname Sir. It means he belonged to a royal aristocratic class, and Sir is an appellation which was given from the royal class. It means, but later on he was thrown into the prison. So that's why the writer calls his life a comedy. That this life is nothing. So there is an existential tone in the poem. Existential means, I think everybody knows the meaning of existential, though it was a later philosophy of later 19th and 20th century, early 20th century. But we can understand that that thread of existentialism is here. Whenever we start thinking about life in a pondering way, in a reflective way, we become existential. As the term itself suggests, existential means when we talk about the repercussions, the causes, the effects of our existence on this earth. So the writer calls his life a short comedy. Why he calls his life short? Because soon he's going to be, punished. Heaven, the judicious, sharp spectator is. Now, heaven has been personified here, and heaven means God, the judicious, sharp spectator. And somewhere he's confessing that he must have done something wrong. That is why he has been put behind the bars. And that's why he says that judicious, God has been termed. Heaven means God. A metaphor has been used. We can also call that it is a metonymy, a kind of synecdoche. Though there is a great difference between synecdoche and metonymy that I will discuss in some other classes. But heaven, the judicious, sharp spectator is that the God as a judicious, powerful, divine power who weighs, our karmas, our deeds, that sits and marks still who doth act amiss. And he is talking about God, that he calculates that, where we did right and where we did wrong. Our graves that hide us from the searching sun. Searching sun again is personified, and searching sun means life, that we keep the sun, the whole imagery of sun has been used here, that sun keeps finding us, and we keeps finding in the sense like, the permanency of sun, that sun is always there on this planet, whether we are here or not. As you all know, that sun has been here, and that's why in sun rising, that poem, the poet says that, you are quite old, because there goes a metaphor that sun has been compared to an old person. So writer says that the searching sun keeps searching us, and we hide ourselves in the graves. That means we die. And then he says, are like drawn curtains when the play is done. And this is again another important Elizabethan imagery of life, where human life is compared to a stage. Okay, and that's why the writer says, and I think it's an extended metaphor. I hope you know the meaning of extended metaphor. A metaphor, the theory of metaphor has been clearly elucidated, explained by I.A. Richards in the 20th century in New Criticism. He says that there is a tenor and there is a vehicle. Okay, a metaphor. This question has already appeared in the exam, net exam. And I would simply like to say that, today I would just like to speak about extended metaphor. In certain poems, you see that a writer starts comparing something in the beginning of the poem, and then he keeps, elaborating the ideas related to that particular thing. We call it extended metaphor. So we see that the writer starts talking about stage and comedy, and then, up to the end of this small poem, he says is still considering life as a play. So he says that the drawn curtains again means the play ends. So the life has been compared to a comedy, and when the comedy ends, the curtains are drawn. Thus march we playing to our latest rest. Latest rest here mean to say, latest does not mean new always. Latest also means the last one. Okay, so thus march means we keep moving, we playing to our latest rest. So I think he has not considered, because he has compared life to a comedy, and then he says that, we go to rest as characters, or say actors, when they come out of the green room, perform their act, and then they go back to the green room. So I think instead of using the imagery of color, the writer has simply talked about the brightness, the darkness, okay, and the chuckling imagery of life, because as I told that there undergoes, or there runs in the poem the theme of existentialism, where he says that march we playing to our latest rest. And what is the latest rest? That is death. So again, metonymy has been used here, because the imagery of rest comes like somebody is sleeping. And I earlier told you that when Hamlet, he uses that famous soliloquy, to be or not to be, there he says that if I die, then perchance I will go into a sleep and then I'll see certain dreams over there. So it is an Elizabethan idea to compare death with sleep, okay, with rest. Only we die in earnest, that is no jest. Line is a satire on, on the whole career and his service to the royal kings, or say kings of England, that we die in earnest. As we all know, means seriously, that we keep living our life very seriously, but we don't end. That is the jest, that is the joke. It means the whole life has been compared to a joke, and right to say is that life has no meaning at all. So this I just wanted to, if you remember, in one of my earlier classes I read one another poem by Sir Walter Raleigh. Those who want to know that which poem was taught, they can go to my YouTube channel and search there. Before 10 lectures I taught you another poem where Walter Raleigh becomes a mouthpiece of a beloved and answering the questions of Marlowe to his Marlowe's poem to a passionate shepherd to his beloved, and then Walter Raleigh answered that question by writing another song which is very famous. Okay, so this is our second poem in the series where we are touching upon Sir Walter Raleigh, and tomorrow also I'll be touching upon Walter Raleigh. And you are surprised that in our curricula we don't have Walter Raleigh as a writer which is taught, but in net they keep asking here and there certain questions from Walter Raleigh. Now tell me the next poem which is written there on the blog. Those who are now watching me, they should go to my website mukeshpareek.com and come to my blog, and we are reading under the title 29th July FB. What is the second point? आप लोग मुझे देख पा रहे हैं? Can you hear me? So keep answering, keep sharing the page. I mostly don't answer good mornings because it diverts our attention. So and I'm so thankful that you are saying good mornings, many of you. In between the class, I can say good morning to everybody. Kindly come to my website mukeshpareek.com or englishcosmos.org so that we can read. Now, what is the second point which is to be studied today? Sonnet number 54. That's great. What about the other people? Sonnet 54 written by Edmund Spenser. As you all know that in one of my earlier classes, it is a kind of confusion actually, that somewhere it is written that Spenser wrote 88 sonnets, and somewhere it is written that Spenser wrote 89 sonnets. So I think let us make a consensus now that he wrote 89 sonnets, and in that same collection he also wrote epithalamion. And don't worry, we are going to teach you epithalamion also in the coming classes. Now let us read. Acha, one thing I would like to ask you, that let us create a kind of atmosphere of a class. So wherever you are sitting in your homes, kindly read it loudly, because it's not a Zoom channel where if you read on your mic and I will be disturbed, I can't hear you, neither I see you. So you can recite these poems loudly so that you can remember some part of the lines, because it is our good luck or bad luck, I can't say, but the course is very vast. Okay, and you all know that amority. How many of you are aware about the term amority? What is the exact meaning of amority? If you remember, I told in some of my earlier classes. What is the meaning of amority? Those who know the meaning of amority, kindly tell me. I'll answer this question once I see any answer on the screen. Amority is a collection by Edmund Spenser. Edmund Spenser, who is the leading voice in Elizabethan, or say the Renaissance England. He was a poet and Song of Love. I'm sorry, Sibnath Laik's answer is not correct, and the award does not go to him. Amority. What is the meaning of amority? You may Google. You may Google it and answer my question. I'm asking a question because they have not asked this question so far. So there is a full chance that in the coming class, coming exam, they will ask you the question. They may ask you a question that along with immorality, which other poem? Because as you all know that minor love, okay, minor love. What is the meaning of minor love, Mr. Spencer published Prothalamion and Epithalamion. Okay, and in The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, he has taken lines from Prothalamion. Clear? But and Epithalamion, as I told in the earlier classes, that it is again written in such a structural way that the writer has given 365 long lines in the poem of and then there comes a pendant of 4 or 5 lines at the end of the poem. Small love gods. Yeah, here comes the answer. So the correct answer is amority. The word amor has been say taken from the Italian word or say Latin word amor. And amor, you are familiar with this word. Amor vincit omnia. The slogan which was written on the say what we say a pendant or say locket of the priestess, the prioress in the Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Okay, so amority is small cupids. Small cupids. So who are the small cupids? These sonnets, these 14-line poems are called by Spencer as small love gods. Okay, and you all know that love god has an image there. In India we have Kamdev, that is Manoj. Manoj is another word for Kamdev, and his wife is Rati. And they are invoked in the aesthetic poems, in the poems where some voluptuous scenes come. But here the writer again, let me read now sonnet number 54 because it is one of the famous sonnets. Okay, Bhavana, I don't understand what you're talking about. Seriousness and uncountable noun, immorality. No, 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 no. I think you must have searched on Google and then these answers came. No, no, no. It's not like that. Immorality is small love gods. Okay, and the sonnets have been termed here as small love gods. Now let us read. Let us read it now loudly, everybody. Of this world's theater in which we stay. So you can understand why I've selected this particular sonnet today, because the earlier poem of 10 lines by Walter Raleigh, and this particular sonnet and some other sonnets and say poems by Shakespeare also, they always have a particular theme of considering life as a theater. Okay, so of this world's theater in which we stay, my love like the spectator idly sit. And he says that my beloved is watching me and I am doing acting on the stage and she's idly sit. Now that whole pain I can relate with the Spencer. Sometimes when we deliver lectures and you will become professors, and when you will find that sometimes when teachers deliver lectures, students don't pay attention either, or they are less responsive. Okay, so here he's talking about of this world's theater in which we stay, my love like the spectator idly sit. Idly sit means she does not respond. Beholding me, she's watching me. Beholding means watching that all the pageants play, and she considers that whatever is going on is a pageant. Pageant means a kind of a show going on, disguising diversely my troubled wits. And troubled wits mean to say that I am so serious as a lover and I'm trying to woo, trying to propose my beloved, but she is not troubled by that, and she's disguising means she's pretending, she's simply showing that she's less perturbed by, or she's less disturbed by whatever the writer is conveying or say doing the acting. Sometimes I joy when glad occasion fits. Sometimes he says that I play like I'm happy, and mask in mirth like to a comedy. Mask means, as you all know, that I put the mask of happiness on my face, like I'm participating in a comedy or I'm doing acting in a comedy. Soon after, when my joy to sorrow flits. Flits means flies. When my joys gets converted into, or say they pass into sorrow, I wail. Wail means lament, cry, and make my woes a tragedy. Woes means dukh, sadness. Make my woes a tragedy. It means the writer conveys that the life of a lover is a comedy as well as a tragedy. Yet she, beholding me with constant eye, but the writer is so much sad that the beloved is unresponsive, because she is just watching this poet lover with a constant eye, delights not in my mirth nor rues my smart. How many of you are aware about the word smart? Do you know exactly the meaning of smart in English? Because during teaching my taking of the classes at times, I'm surprised that our vocabulary is not as strong as it should be. How many of you are aware about the word smart? Can you tell me exact meaning of smart? If I wait for you, then it will be a sheer wastage of your precious time. Let me tell you, smart means hurt. So there is a phrasal verb in English, that is smart from. I was smart from. So it means hurt. Write it down. That smart always does not mean that American sense. I hope you understand this point, that we today feel that, yesterday night I wrote a post. I would love if you read that post of mine. On FB I posted it, and I'm talking about that, how we not becoming a kind of, a rich country. And the reason is that, there are certain reasons why we don't become. And who becomes rich very easily? Who becomes knowledgeable? One who quickly pays, one who quickly understands the importance of, something. And so kindly read that post, okay? I don't want to digress. Harbhajan Singh, directly come to my blog through my no blog, because we are reading from there, Spencer's sonnet number 54, and we are discussing something, because there comes a word smart. I'm not happy, with your answers, because everything is not on Google, okay? I mostly shy of Google, because everything is not there, and if you have not developed your mind, then you will not be able to select that what is the correct thing and what is not the correct thing. Clear? So smart means exactly, देखिए मैं आपको एक चीज डिस्कस करता हूं. अगर आपको अपनी वोकैबुलरी इंप्रूव, तो एटलीस्ट 3 से 4 एंट्रीज ऑफ अ, they are considered important, okay? The primary meaning, the secondary meaning, the tertiary meaning, and then there are shades, because I did my MPhil in translation, and there I searched different dictionaries, Hindi as well as English, because in translation you have to be capable of, in both the languages. And then I came to know that just with the handy knowledge, with the surface knowledge, we cannot become teachers of English or say any language, I think, okay? So smart here mean to say, um, sadness either, or the writer rues my smart. Smart means hurt, injury. So writer says, delights not in my mirth nor rues my smart, that my beloved is so heartless. Now, as I told you, that why immortality is a famous sonnet collection, because this writer somewhere talks about in the tradition of sonnet writing, because a cruel beloved has been a trend. It's again a kind of, the lover makes himself a victim. And you see that in Hindi songs also, Bollywood songs also, we come across these kinds of things, that the lover is blaming the beloved all the time, that she is so cruel in being unresponsive, to the advances of the lover. So here I think the writer wants to convey the same feeling, that now let me make you a smart reader. Now another meaning of smart I'm using, an intelligent reader. Can you see that the silent beloved sitting? You all must be aware that Spencer was a widower. Spencer's first wife died, and then this Elizabeth, whom he was courting and writing sonnets upon, and then ultimately he married her also. This was his second love. So we all can understand that he has been an experienced one in the love matters, and then he's following the courtly traditions of writing love songs, because this sonnet falls in that category. So the silent, wherever you listen to a song, or you listen to a folk song, or you listen to or you come across any sonnet, and if you find the woman or the female figure in the poem, in the work of art, silent, unmoving, unresponsive, it means the overall politics is working on, that woman. So, and later on, Alien Showalter and all the other feminist writers, whom we study today, they are writing, on the Elizabethan literature, and say that, what were the things which made these women silent. So the silent beloved say is not responding, and why she is not responding, there can be so many answers. But when I laugh, she mocks. When I laugh, she mocks, and when I cry, she laughs. A kind of paradox writer is using, and presents the beloved in an opposite shade, where he's playing the victim card, that, I am a victim of love, and somewhere she's the smarter one, and I am a victim of, of that. But if we go to the biographical criticism, then we come to know that, he's not as innocent as he's pretending to be. She laughs and harden evermore her heart, and when she laughs at my cries and at my melancholy, it means she becomes more hard. Now there is a pun going on, a kind of musicality is there between heart and hurt and hard. Okay, what can be the things, which can make her a responsive beloved, if not mirth nor moan, lamenting. If my mirth and my moan cannot move her, she is no woman but a senseless stone. Now you can understand that the last line is why it is famous and can be asked in the exam, that who has compared a woman with a senseless stone, that if she is not a responsive one, she is. So again he's abusing, he's calling her names का मतलब होता है गाली निकालना, that somewhere is calling her. एक गाना है ना पुरानी फिल्मों में, पत्थर के सनम हमने तुझे अपना जाना, एक फिल्म का नाम ही है पत्थर के सनम. So how can be a sanam be of patthar? How can be somebody be of stone hearted? There must have been something wrong. She must have sensed something wrong. So this was another important poem which I taught, and the kind of imagery, the kind of patterns, and the kind of, stock imageries and metaphors the writers used in say Elizabethan age, that I have taught you. Okay, those who have now come to my page and watching me and want to be serious in studying, they should go to my website and use your split screen on the phone. And if you go to my website mukeshpareek.com or say englishcosmos.org, and from the blog, the latest entry is there, and I'm reading the third point now. Now you tell me, friends, so those who are watching carefully, studying carefully, that what is the third, and लगता है मैंने थर्ड नंबर देना भूल गया हूँ, सेकेंड और थर्ड को एक ही नंबर दे दिया मैंने, मुझे माफ कीजिए. व्हाट इज द फोर्थ नंबर? What is the fourth number on the blog, which is going to be the most important part of today's lecture? Tell me what is the fourth number given, because second and third is one of the same. मोहब्बत का खुदा जाना, हाँ. पत्थर के सनम हमने तुझको मोहब्बत का खुदा जाना. Yes. Wow. You yesterday you shared a very old song, Mr. Malik. I listened to that. You have a good choice. Yeah. Tottle's Miscellany. Come on. आप लोग पेज को शेयर कीजिए, जितनी जल्दी हो सके एडमिशन ले लीजिए अगस्त की क्लासेस के लिए, ताकि आपको मिस ना हो, बिकॉज आपको मालूम है कि ये लेक्चर ज़्यादा समय तक रेगुलर नहीं रह पाएंगे, एंड वी अल्टीमेटली हैव टू गो टुवर्ड्स द क्लासेस एंड ऑल. Answer my question, please. What is the fourth number on my blog? Pushpita, your answer I'm not seeing. Bhavna, I don't remember the other names and all. Priyanka, kindly write. Hari Prasad, that's great. those who are new, they should go to my website today, mukeshpareek.com, and there is a, if they fill the form, inquiry form there, then their address will automatically come to me, and then I will start sending them certain PDFs. Okay, yeah, Tottle's Miscellany. अच्छा, एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज मैं आपको पहले बता दूं दैट दिस टॉटल्स मिसैलेनी इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी द most important work of Elizabethan literature, and they keep asking us. Acha, I have shared with you here this cover page, the table. The table, if you can see the photograph. The reason behind this, that you can see certain names, because sometimes most of the students, when they read, only the quiz books, or say objective types of books, on when they are preparing for net, they just come to know that only Vyat and Surrey were the only contributors. So this page will clear your doubt, that under the contents you can see on this page that A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. This shows that there were not only the sonnets under this title, but there were other contributors also. Okay, so only 2 or 3 contributors are named very prominently, but rest of the people are not talked about. Clear? Now come to the it is considered, let us talk about something, that 1557, when this Tottle's Miscellany was published. Tottle is the name of the publisher, and Miscellany means to say a mixture of songs and sonnets. One thing which is clear to you. Second thing, that when it was published 1557, yesterday I told you that that was the reign of Bloody Mary, Mary Tudor, the daughter of Henry VIII, who was a Catholic, and she was busy in removing the the Protestant people. So as you all know, that when somebody creative writer, he or she always, because they have no. So you should remember only 3 names. One is Vyat. We actually pronounce it Wyatt. Wyatt. How we pronounce it? Wyatt. Then Earl of Surrey. Clear? These 2 people are very, very famous for introducing Wyatt. It is considered that he brought sonnet to England, and Surrey perfected it and gave the Petrarchan sonnet the English touch, which was later followed by Shakespeare, as you all know. And sonnet, I have already delivered a lecture on sonnet. You can go to my YouTube and watch that whole lecture. There are 2-3 lectures on that. Another important thing is that the third writer which they can ask, that is Nicholas Grimald. So the third important contributor to the songs and sonnets of Tottle's Miscellany is Nicholas Grimald. Okay, one thing. So particular writers, though, and how much famous, as you all know, that publishers are businessmen. So this Tottle was a publisher, and he took a great risk in publishing a book of songs and sonnets. आप एक बात बताइए, you just tell me one thing. Do you go to market and buy any anthology just to enjoy the songs and sonnets? No, we don't have a collection. If we don't have anything in syllabus, यही बात मैंने कल अपनी पोस्ट में लिखी है, that we have been molded in such a way in India that we only buy the books which are in our course. And that's why if I say that somebody has a temple in his house but no library, because library का मतलब ये नहीं होता. Library का मतलब ये होता है that somebody has very religiously devoting time in reading, and then he has different tastes for reading. It means Elizabethan England had before 1558, when Queen Elizabeth became Queen Elizabeth and came to throne and gave that stability to England, and we see that literature thrived, drama thrived, songs and sonnets thrived, they advanced. Before that, there was a publisher, a kind of businessman who had that acumen. उसके दिमाग में वो ideas थे. He was so intelligent a person कि उसने एक ही साल में 2 एडिशन निकाले. मेरे ख्याल से 5 जून का डेट बड़ा फेमस है, because this edition came on 5th of June. Okay, in the mid of 1557, when there was bloodshed in England. Okay, so अच्छा, उसके बाद क्या है कि दिस राइटर वाज क्वाइट इंटेलिजेंट, दिस printer or say publisher was quite intelligent, because he had the knowledge, like which poem should be kept, which should be removed. But because if there is a religious sentiment expressed in the poem, then he removed that poem so that he should not incur the wrath of Mary, Queen Mary by that time. ये जो मैंने इंग्लिश बोली, इसका मतलब होता है incurred, का मतलब होता है कहीं इनवाइट ना कर ले, wrath, WRATH, wrath का मतलब नाराजगी, कि कहीं रानी नाराज ना हो जाए, किसी को पता ना चल जाए कि we have been publishing something which is against the ideology of the king, the politics of the king or the queen. So we can understand that अच्छा, एक ये इंपॉर्टेंट बात हो गई इस पे, आप यू हैव स्टडीड नाउ दैट वाइट वाज इंपॉर्टेंट कंट्रीब्यूटर. देन दे कैन आस्क यू लाइक हाउ मेनी पोएम्स वर बाय व्हाट. सो लेट मी रीड समथिंग फ्रॉम, यू कैन आल्सो रीड दैट 5th of June, I'm reading from that 257. Okay. The first edition was published on the 5th of June and included 271 poems. That can be another question now this time. 271, with 40 attributed to Surrey. Surrey attributed 40 sonnets, 97 to Wyatt. So then another important question, that who was a major contributor. So he was Wyatt, and 40 to Grimald, and 94 to uncertain authors. It means there were other authors involved. So this point is important. The second edition was printed very shortly afterwards on the 31st of July. So you can say within a month, if a second edition ensues from a printing press, it means how important. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि चारों तरफ का वातावरण बहुत खराब था. जैसे अभी नेटफ्लिक्स पे जो फिल्में आती हैं, कैसे फटाफट हम लोग देखते हैं, क्योंकि हम कहीं जा नहीं सकते, एंटरटेनमेंट लगभग बैंड है. आप तो सीरियस स्टूडेंट्स है दैट डे, बट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल द अदर पीपल हु आर जस्ट वाइलिंग अवे देयर टाइम और किलिंग देयर टाइम. लेकिन वी हैव आउट ऑफ नोवेयर मेड एंटरटेनमेंट आवर नेसेसिटी. मुझे लगता है, कभी आप मुझे पर्सनली सुनोगे तो यू विल बी सरप्राइज्ड कि यू कैन नॉट बिकम अ प्रोफेसर अंटिल यू थ्रो अवे दिस वर्ड एंटरटेनमेंट फ्रॉम योर लाइफ. क्योंकि आपने कभी नोटिस किया होगा, आर यू अवेयर अबाउट दिस एमरसन? चलिए बताइए किस किस ने एमरसन का के एसेस पढ़े हैं. If you go to Emerson and read thoroughly Emerson, you will come to know that American scholar, उन्होंने एक ऐसे लिखा है, और उस पर नेट में क्वेश्चन भी आता रहता है. How many of you are aware about Emerson? He is an American writer. If you read that writer, you will come to know that वो बात कर रहा है, is giving a national pride to the Americans by that time, and he says that why you are dependent on the things of England, and why you go to Rome, and why you go to visit the different parts of the world. करता हूं तो कई बार आपको समझ नहीं आता, बिकॉज वी आर लिविंग इन दैट एज वेयर ग्लोब ट्रॉटिंग हैज बिकम अ फैशन, फोटोग्राफी हैज बिकम अ फैशन. बट इफ यू रीड ओरिएंटलिज्म बाय एडवर्ड सईद, यू विल कम टू नो दैट फोटोग्राफी, और जेन ऑस्टन ही पढ़ लीजिए आप लोग, अगर जेन ऑस्टन का एमा पढ़ेंगे, सो इन द फर्स्ट फ्यू चैप्टर्स यू कम टू नो दैट जेन ऑस्टन इज क्रिटिसाइजिंग इन अ वेरी टंग इन चीक दैट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ फोटोग्राफी, कि आप जो पोर्ट्रेट बनाते हो किसी, नॉट फोटोग्राफी तो तब तक नहीं आई थी, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट मेकिंग पोर्ट्रेट, कॉलोनाइजिंग. ओके, सो मुझे जो कहना है वो मुझे लिंक करना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे, दैट हाउ आई एम, व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू कन्वे, कि अगर आज आप किसी बच्चे, सपोज समबडी सेज कि मैं बोर हो रहा हूँ, आई एम गेटिंग बोर्ड. आजकल छोटे छोटे बच्चे बोलते हैं बोर हो रहा हूँ, इसका मतलब है यू आर हॉलो विद इन, you are not a spiritual being, and somewhere you have accustomed yourself, you have made yourself very much attuned to the things which are outwardly, the things which are out there, the things which are not there inside you. आप गांव में जाइए, there is a concept of Hamlet. Hamlet का मतलब जानते हैं आप लोग? Hamlet का, not only the drama of Shakespeare, Hamlet also mean एक छोटा सा गांव जिसमें 2-4 घर हों. Hamlet, ढाणी बोलते हैं उसको हमारे यहाँ पे, इन लोकल लैंग्वेज इन राजस्थान, इन हरियाणा वी कॉल इट ढाणी. अ वेरी स्मॉल लोकेलिटी वेयर पीपल लिव टुगेदर, एंड दे, if you go there and find an old woman, she's sitting silently, not claiming, not cursing, she's getting bored, because she is a very filled with it. So ये थोड़ा कम समझ में आएगा आपको. एक सोनेट पढ़ते हैं, सॉन्ग पढ़ते हैं, if we have a collection of books, बुक्स भी नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं, सपोज यू आर, एंड देन यू आर नॉट कंप्लेनिंग दैट यू आर गेटिंग बोर्ड, इट मीन्स यू आर अ हैवी पर्सन फ्रॉम विद इन. ये बात आपको क्लासरूम में ही समझाई जा सकती है, बिकॉज वी कैन नॉट वेस्ट अ लॉट मच टाइम इन डिस्कसिंग इट, कि जाने में क्या बुराई है, बिकॉज यू आर मॉडर्न जनरेशन, इवन मी, वी बिलोंग टू सच अ जनरेशन where we feel कि आना जाना बहुत important है. And this COVID-19 condition, which is the new normal today, it has made us realize the importance of home, the people in the home. And suppose there is no electricity, suppose there is no Wi-Fi connection at one day, and then you feel, आपने कभी notice किया होगा, when there is no supply of electricity, शाम का वक्त है गर्मियों का, most of the people come to their terrace and then they start talking to their neighbors, and then they feel the human touch. तो मैं ये सारी बातें इसलिए बता रहा हूँ that ये सब डिस्कशन के अंदर आता है. अभी तो आई एम नॉट वेस्टिंग योर टाइम, कम बैक. अब आ जाइए अगले कॉन्सेप्ट पे, सॉन्ग्स एंड सोनेट्स में. इन द नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ आई एम रीडिंग दैट the exact extent of Tottle's involvement in organizing the text of the Miscellany is not known, and there is a long-standing question of who, if anyone, edited it. So again, this can be a question. I'm reading another paragraph before the photograph of the cover, that this Tottle was only a collector of the poems, but he was not the editor. So with this haphazard collection, because there is no systematic way of arranging the poems in Tottle's Miscellany, it conveys an idea that somebody who arranged the poems was the editor, but his name is not known. Clear? The two main manuscripts that the poems appear to come from, the Egerton MS 2711 and the Arundel Harrington, these are not important, so I'm just skipping that. Clear? Now let me talk about something more important about this Tottle's Miscellany. In Shakespeare's drama, The Merry Wives of Windsor, if you see, I have just given the details over there. In Shakespeare's drama, The Merry Wives of Windsor, there comes a character, Abraham Slender. Write it down. Abraham Slender. He wishes that he had his copy with him, a copy of this Tottle's Miscellany. So there is one particular drama in Shakespeare where the name of Tottle's Miscellany, this was not exactly the name of the, because Songs and Sonnets was the exact name. This name, Tottle's Miscellany, was later given to this collection. That I have already supplied the information in this, and you can after the class can read it. Okay, so another important information from my side from examination point of view is that that Shakespeare's The Merry Wives of Windsor, this is again another single play of Shakespeare other than the history plays, where a real location of England, that is Windsor, comes, because all the other dramas the writer has imagined the countries, whether Vienna or Italy or other places, but in very less number of plays he has talked about the original proper places of England, and this is one of them, other than the history plays, because Windsor is in England. One thing. Second thing which I would like to say about this, as per the questions which may appear, Spenser, Shakespeare and John Donne, they must have relied on this collection for their imagination, and in that way Grimald, Wyatt and Surrey influenced the imagination of these three writers, because Shakespeare also wrote a sonnet collection of 154 sonnets there. Then John Donne wrote Divine Meditations, where there is a mixture of Divine Meditations is the collection of 19 sonnets by John Donne. I already have taught one or two sonnets from that collection, and I'll be teaching you more from the same collection. And Edmund Spenser has already we have talked about that he wrote Immortality. So in today's lecture we see that how the major three Elizabethan writers, Shakespeare, John Donne and Spenser, were indebted to this Tottle's Miscellany. I also cleared the fact that Tottle's Miscellany was the name later suggested by someone. So two books were famous, as per the books of riddles was famous among the Elizabethan readers, and second one was this one. One more idea is coming to my mind, which as I have not given here on my blog, uh, and that is in Hamlet, the gravedigger. Write it down. In Hamlet, when the gravedigger's scene comes, as you all are aware, that in Hamlet, the scene of gravedigger comes. That gravedigger is singing a sonnet that has been taken from Tottle's Miscellany. I hope you have written the fact. So overall, in Shakespearean plays, critics have talked about that Tottle's Miscellany come. Clear? Now the fifth point. Come to the fifth point and tell me what is the fifth point on my blog, so that I can assure myself that you are really reading from my blog on my website mukeshpareek.com and englishcosmos.org. Kindly share this live stream so that maximum number of students can be benefited of this lecture. No response is coming. Can you see me? Can you hear me? What is the fifth point? What is the fifth point? I can see many students, but not a single response. What is the fifth point on the blog that we are going to read? And it is a longer point. I have uploaded this longer point because I want you read from this point today. After the yeah, one answer I've got, that is Anatomy of Melancholy. That's great. Anatomy of Melancholy is considered, though we don't have a lot much details on internet, so I have taken a photograph from my book and uploaded here. Before I go to this, it was written by Robert Burton, and the date is 1677 to 1640. You will certainly get a question from this, because all the other romantic writers and the writers later on was heavily influenced by this book, Anatomy of Melancholy. And if somebody who is serious about this exam, NET and JRF, watching me and following me, can understand that I'm touching upon almost all these important points from where we will 100% get questions. Okay, so anatomy, एक word है, there is a word in English, anatomy of melancholy. Anatomy means kind of the overall understanding of the inner parts of some living being. So the writer has termed that melancholy is something living being, and the writer is showing to us that what is that melancholy comes out of. Before I begin this lecture, or say I extend this lecture, I must tell you that I think almost in every second net they have been asking us question from this book. Clear? So whatever I have uploaded, at least you should go through that. And on my Telegram channel, I have uploaded one more thing, one more link, so that any student who is on that, and those who are not part of my Telegram group, should become very quickly the part and parcel of that group, so that whenever I keep sharing certain mock test or say anything which is important, they can read that and be benefited out of my knowledge. Okay, anatomy of melancholy. चलिए आपको let me ask you a question. आप में से कितने स्टूडेंट्स हैं जिन्होंने मर्चेंट ऑफ वेनिस पढ़ा है? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव रेड मर्चेंट ऑफ वेनिस एंड हाउ इट स्टार्ट्स? One question. Second question, what is the malaise, or say the disease with which Hamlet is afflicted in the play Hamlet? What is the problem with Ophelia? What is the problem of Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, the play by Shakespeare? And if you keep asking me that different plays by Shakespeare and other writers like John Donne also, that why times the lovers of John Donne, whenever he has shown the lovers in his sonnets or say in his long secular poems, why they are crying, why they are too much, why they are being too much emotional? Because the overall answer is melancholy. And if you remember, two lectures back, we were talking about four humors, the theory of humors, which was studied in anatomy, which was studied there in that age, where the theory of humors was there in medical science there in the Elizabethan age, that there are four humors in a human being's body, and there is an imbalance of these four humors, and melancholy is caused by the black bile juice, and someone who is suffering from melancholy, can be different, there can be different reasons behind that. But now let us come to something which I would read from that. First of all, its title. They can ask you this title. There are two books which have longer titles than the usual. One is I remember, if you remember that book in which there comes a character Friday. How many of you are aware about that book? There comes a character Friday. I'm asking it as a question, as a net question. Which book, in which there is a character Friday, written in 1699? Okay, I don't trouble you. So then you will come to know that Robinson Crusoe, you know, talked about melancholy also. I'm simply talking about here that that book has a longer title, a very long title. If you go today, Robinson Crusoe's title, and that question was asked in the exam. One thing. Second thing, this book's title, Anatomy of Melancholy, in the full, the anatomy of melancholy, what it is, with all the kinds, causes, symptoms. Read with me. Prognostics and several cures of it in three main partitions with their several sections, members, and subsections, philosophically, medicinally, historically opened and cut up by Democritus Jr. Now, this is the whole title. Now, let me make you smart that how can they ask, or they have been asking us questions. First of all, there was a question that, how many parts are there. So in the title itself, the parts the writer has talked about. Clear? First, one thing. Second thing, the writer has created a philosopher, Democritus, and on the cover page, that Democritus is laughing, and the writer has become Democritus Jr., and then there is a conversation between the two. Chandrasekhar Mishra has answered wrong. Pilgrim's Progress. Sorry. Chandrasekhar, are you really reading from my blog on my website, mukeshpareek.com? If not, then go to there so that you can be benefited. Now, can you read it from there? Robert Burton, written by and published in 1621, are expanded. That's why, there comes so many dates. Expanded and altered in 5 subsequent editions: 1624, 1628, 1632, 1638, 1651, 52. So this is the the most important. Now you will be surprised to know that this book is of a huge size of 900 pages. It was a quarto edition. Okay, and all the later writers were influenced by that book, and it is based on a pseudo-scientific method. Pseudo-scientific method means the writer considers that like a scientist is writing, but actually is relying on the politics, on the is also following the medical knowledge. Okay, and he's discussing actually that what are the causes of depression in Elizabethan age. And you all know that Elizabethan age was an age of that was passing through Renaissance, and an age which passes through Renaissance is actually an age where there are a lot many discoveries are there, inventions are there, and a common mind comes to know about different things. Okay, so that person is addicted to look at different things, or say addicted to information. Okay, and with the rebirth of knowledge, one more thing comes. For example, even I am a victim of that. I keep complaining to very close students of mine that I have bouts of depression now and then. What is the reason? That because we all have been in the practice of going out coming back, going out, coming back, and then looking at so many different things. And recently, when I gave you an example of Hamlet, that somebody who is living in Hamlet is not that much tortured by depression as a person who is living in a metropolitan city. Why? Because you are accustomed to see two different things and visiting different places, and that becomes part and parcel of your life. And then you start feeling any day when there is a holiday either, and you turn into a monster who is workaholic, one who wants every now and then something in his or her life. So speaking this, because if you go to, because I have read a lot much about this book, in different classes. Whenever for last 20 years I have been qualifying this and teaching different classes. And whenever I talk about this particular book, I keep talking about what I read about this book, what I did not read about this, and what was my findings and all. So when I asked you a question, that in Merchant of Venice, when Antonio says that he complains in the very first dialogue that a kind of sadness is there, and he does not know the cause of that sadness. And this happens with almost we who are living in it happens with us who are living in metropolitan cities. So I think the major cause of melancholy is idleness. He's talking about that if you're idly sitting, not doing anything, then you Amzad Islam is writing something out. Sir, I request you kindly go to my website mukeshpareek.com and go to my blog there, so that you can read something from there. I'm reading the fifth point, anatomy of melancholy, so that you can give me correct answers. Okay. The huge and encyclopedic anatomy of melancholy was produced by the English clergyman Robert Burton. Another important question, that he was a clergyman. It explores a dizzying assortment of mental afflictions, including what might now be called depression, that I have already spoken about. Burton considers melancholy to be an inbred malady. Inbred malady means to say a kind of disease which is bred inside us, which is a result from our insight. Not a little offended by himself. Now I'm reading from the a page which I uploaded. Kindly come to that page so that we all can read from it. Can you read it from there? Okay. What is written? Try to read. The earlier 17th century, I'm reading the second part. Literature and culture 1603 to 1640. When I complete this whole paragraph, you will come to know that I think 4 or 5 questions will be there in exam from this particular paragraph. The earlier 17th century brought old and new ideas about the nature of things into sharp opposition. An inherited body of concepts and images was still available to be used by Donne. As you all know, that all the writers who were writing under the influence of a rebirth of knowledge, that is Renaissance, because different the things of knowledge keep accumulating in their mind, then they keep sharing, and that's why metaphysical conceits have different things which were unknown to the other people, and through those things metaphysical poets were able to influence the readers. Okay, so an inebriated body of concepts and used by Donne, Burton and others, even as they were being questioned or displaced. The Ptolemaic universe, with its 9 concentric spheres whose movements produce music. This is something very important for all of us, that there comes a notion, an idea in Milton also, that when the spheres move, they create a music, because that was an idea given by Ptolemy, which I already talked about when I taught you that poem Sun Rising. Clear? I'm reading from a photograph of a book which I have. I put a click of that on the blog, and I'm reading from there. Those who don't have should go to my website mukeshpareek.com, and you can search there and you can read from there. Okay. Now I'm reading circling sun. It's a circling sun and fixed earth and its assumption of perfection above the moon and corruption beneath. The four elements fire, air, water, earth. And these four elements, give birth to the theory of humors. That in body there are four humors that comprise the matter of all things, and the four humors of the body, that is choler. Four humors I'm reading. I already have talked about this comedy of humor when we talked about Ben Jonson. Choler. Choler is again, when somebody has a preponderance or excess of choler in his body, then that person becomes choleric. Choleric means to say वो थोड़ा चिड़चिड़ा हो जाता है, चिड़चिड़ा. You understand that somebody who is who can be made nervous very easily, one who can be made angry very easily. Blood, which is called sanguine, one who is always over excited, over enthusiastic. Okay, if somebody has over enthusiastic. Phlegm means जिसको हम लोग बलगम बोलते हैं, म्यूकस, जो जुकाम में हमारे अंदर जमा हो जाता है. एंड यू मस्ट हैव नोटिस दैट आफ्टर कोराइजा, दैट इज द कॉमन कोल्ड, हमारे अंदर जब बहुत बलगम हो जाती है तो देन वी मोस्टली फील पैसिव. ओके, सो फ्लैग्मेटिक, bit passive, neutral kind of person who doesn't want to part. Clear? And melancholy. Melancholy again does not mean passive. Melancholy means maudlin. Yesterday I think I gave you this word, maudlin, Maudlin. Maudlin is a word used for Mother Mary because she's always crying. That determined temperament and in great imbalance make for disease, mental and physical. And this mental disease the writer has talked about in this anatomy of melancholy. ये क्वेश्चन आपको एग्जाम में आया हुआ है कि what is the characteristic feature of the common temperament of the Elizabethan man, and that was melancholy. The answer was melancholy. Let me relate it so that you people can understand. एक क्वेश्चन आया था कि what is the most important word used for Victorian age. Then they gave you four options. Melancholy was also one of the options there. Can you answer this question of mine? That if melancholy is the most important, precisely defining word of Elizabethan people, which word is defining the Victorian people? I will give a free PDF to the person who will answer this question. को कह दिया है, आप जो लोग इस वीडियो को YouTube पे भी देखेंगे और उनको आज मेरी वेबसाइट mukeshpareek.com पे जाकर के एक इंक्वायरी फॉर्म भरना है, उससे आपका ईमेल मेरे पास आ जाएगा. देन आई विल सेंड यू सर्टेन इंपॉर्टेंट PDFs देयर. ओके, so you should fill that form today throughout the day. What is the defining word for Victorian age? Is there anybody who can answer this question? This is an open session, open question. Bhavna, melancholy is for Elizabethan age. I'm talking about this Victorian age. I will give a free PDF. Blue stocking writers, no. No way. Okay. I think when you write and it takes a lot much time, that answer comes to me. Let me break this suspense now, and the answer is earnest. Earnest, that word is the defining word of Victorian age. Write it down, earnest. And that is why importance of being earnest. The most important comedy by Oscar Wilde, which we read and which is taught, and I have never seen many net exams where they don't ask us this question. Clear? Importance of being earnest, and that the way the writer is making in England. Okay, I know nobody answered the question. Okay, so earnest. Now I'm coming. Okay, so it was a fashion. Let me tell you one thing. Let me relate it so that you people can understand that how this question is over now. I'm now back to this reading from my blog. Those who are first time watching me and seriously want to stay on my page should go to my website mukeshpareek.com and you will find my blog there, and I'm reading from the blog's latest entry, 5 number, where there is a photograph from a book, and I'm reading from there. Okay, come back. अच्छा, एक बात बताइए आप लोग, लेट मी रिलेट इट. One day I was very sad, and to one of my students, he asked me like, why are you sad? And I simply said that I keep falling under the fits of this uh, depression. Then he became very happy. He wrote a long WhatsApp message to me that, sir, you are really an intellectual person if you have this fits of depression, because only intelligent people can have fits of depression. And I was really surprised in a negative way, because I remember, today I understand that no, there is no need to be sad, there is no need to be a part of depression. Even sometimes few days back I wrote a post also on my FB by simply declaring that only the people who are very conscious, highly conscious, super conscious, they become mad, or say high quotient of intelligence can make you a person of depression. But Gita says that if you are hale and hearty and have a solid mind, you should not have depression. You cannot have depression, because it means you are not made your psyche a solid one. Clear? So there are so many different things which I would like to say, and that is why I think the writer has written this particular treatise, this document, by simply showing that Elizabethan people were psychologically ill if they were melancholic. Clear? And though there are different chapters in this book where the writer is talking about, and if you read the whole article which I have uploaded today on my blog, you will come across the exact thing, and you may be able to answer the questions there. Now let me read and finish the lecture. Jacobean thought of themselves as especially prone to the melancholy. So the Elizabethan and Jacobean people used to consider themselves that if they are afflicted with melancholy, and it was a pride for them. Shakespeare's Hamlet, Jakes. Are you aware about Jakes, one who says that the world is a stage? Okay, and As You Like It, this romantic comedy by Shakespeare, and are melancholic figures. And in Bossolo, in Webster's The Duchess of Malfi, that we will read. Bossolo is his all soliloquies show that he's a melancholic person. Robert Burton wrote a massive and thoroughly delightful treatise on this malady, which is thought universal. He said that this melancholy is a universal malady. Malady means bimari. The Anatomy of Melancholy, 1621. Milton's title figure in Il Penseroso. If you are aware about two sister poems written by Milton, that is Il Penseroso was one of the poem, and so this is I don't remember the next poem, Il Penseroso and Il, I just forgot the name. So these two poems by Milton, if you write Il Penseroso, the sister poem will automatically come on internet. Benign means very humble, exemplar of the temperament which was commonly associated with scholars. Something which another nightly thoughts. Write down one concept: nightly school of poetry. And those who are regular students of mine have already received that long PDF on pre-romantic age. If you go there, you will find that I have added this nightly school of poetry, in which there are so many different writers who were melancholic. For example, Thomas Gray. It is said that Thomas Gray was also a melancholic figure. That's why I'm saying that he was a melancholic figure later on. That's why he says that all the scholars, Allegro. Yeah, I remember the name of the sister poem, Il Penseroso and Allegro. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sibnath. You have helped me. Il Penseroso is a benign exemplar of the temperament was commonly associated with the scholars. Melancholy was mostly associated with the scholar. As I gave you this example, my students, now he's an RAS officer. He was very happy that, sir, if you are under depression, it means you are an intelligent person. That is considered, but I don't consider concepts of this heritage a system where order and analogy means, these writers write in an ordered form, and they feel that the ordered life somewhere creates melancholy, often rendered in striking literary images. Dunn was especially fond of the macrocosm or microcosm parallel according to which the human being is seen in the little world. The rest of the things are not important for us. I was simply talking about but one particular term I would like to talk about in the last line, that is the chain of being. In the coming few classes, we'll be talking about chain of being. So write down today's homework. That is chain of being. Okay. So later, philosophies emerged out of this particular philosophy. It is already 11:16. It's a long lecture today. I would ask you to re-watch this lecture on my YouTube channel, so that if you have missed something, whatever I was saying when you were searching for the blog and all, you can be benefited out of that. Wait for tomorrow's class and kindly share it. Out of this repeated, request, some of you don't share it even when you will watch it as a as a video on my YouTube channel. Kindly share these videos, because if you're attending them, and I think in this COVID period, we should be more and more charitable. Kindly share all these videos and these lectures. Thank you very much.